Good day, everyone. I am Jacquiline Cornico and I am the first reporter in Chapter 4. I will be discussing the e-business or electronic business economics. Chapter 4 discusses the economic implications of using the internet for business purposes, and it also explains how the internet for e-business or e-commerce pushes markets closer to the perfectly competitive model. First, let us review the word economics. Economics is concerned with the efficient allocation of resources, and according to Adam Smith, it is an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of the nations. It is also a social science concerned with the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. From what I have mentioned earlier, Chapter 4 discusses or explains how the internet for e-business and e-commerce pushes markets closer to the perfectly competitive model. And as you can remember, there are four types of market competition: perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and monopoly. Perfect competition refers to a market where no individual buyer or seller can influence the market. Monopolistic competition naman refers to a market where many firms sell differentiated products. And oligopoly occurs when an industry has many firms offering products that are similar but not identical. Monopoly is the domination of an industry by a single company to the point of excluding all other viable competitors. So, domination of an industry by a single company. Vilfredo Pareto is an Italian economist. He gave his name to a definition of efficiency where a situation arises in which it is not possible to make someone better off without making someone else worse off. The Pareto principle. And the Pareto efficiency requires a maximum efficiency, and it can relate to a production where it is impossible to increase output of one good without decreasing the output of any other, and it is also impossible to increase consumption of one good without decreasing consumption of another. Pareto efficiency is related to a perfect competition. A perfect competition is where a market forces of demand and supply determine the price and output of goods and services. Perfect competition is a theoretical market structure based on a number of key assumptions. And only when these assumptions are fulfilled can Pareto efficiency be achieved. The assumptions are there are many buyers and sellers. There is freedom of entry and exit from the market. There is perfect mobility of the factors of production. There is perfect knowledge of the market. And there is a homogeneous product. Perfect competition describes an efficient market. This is because it leaves no excess supply or demand of goods or services. However, in real life, it rarely happens because most markets fail to match supply with demand. Hence, they operate at less than optimal efficiency. And there are reasons why market fails. These are the reason why market fails. There may be a lack of information and knowledge pertaining to the supply of goods and services into a market, or excessive transaction cost. Transactions may be prevented by geographical distance between buyers and sellers, and one seller may have greater economic power than others in the industry and can influence the market price. Next is the effects of the internet on the competitive environment. The internet plays an enormous role within the growth of companies. It provides businesses to have a chance to achieve a wider audience. It is simpler, easier, and more convenient. It has provided a mechanism for edging markets closer to the perfect competition. There are many buyers and sellers in the market because of the ease of access and lack of regulations. Next, reduction of costs, and it is more cost effective. Transacting via internet ensures a more cost-effective way of matching supply and demand since there are no geographical or time constraints. And there is also a reduction of cost. The cost of entry and exit is low since the firms do not require large sales teams, costly investment in infrastructure, or high sunk costs in order to compete effectively. Next is ease of entry for firms, and it enables businesses to reach a much wider audiences and abundance of information available. So, abundance of information available. So, because of the internet, the customers or the consumers have an access to a huge array of information. They compare the prices and availability of products and services, and it leads to com- in and it leads firms or the companies to compete more on price because of the absence of the significant search costs. And the bargaining power lies within the customer. Information is viewed as a resource to reduce uncertainty. The development of internet emphasized on information as a productive element and a product. Economic analysis of information as an asset should view it from both the demand and supply. Demand in the form of customers and business seeking information on products and services. So on the demand side, the internet can be utilized as a means of accessing information about organizations or companies and the products and services they sell. Customers usually scan the website and then check the availability of the products or services, and then compare the prices on other websites or other applications, and then they decide whether to buy it or not. As a customer, I usually use Shopee. First, I look for the products that I want, and then I check the availability of the products, the sizes, the color, and then after that I read the comments or the reviews of the products, and then I compare the prices on other sellers, and then after that I decide whether to buy it or not. So, the internet helps the transaction process to be smooth. Once an offer to buy has been received by an online business, the process of distribution takes place and the physical product is delivered to the customer. Next, supply. Supply in the form of businesses providing information to customers and other businesses. So, on the supply side, the internet can be utilized as a means of marketing, promoting, and selling products and services. So, the internet is so useful in selling and promoting and marketing the product. For example, in our Facebook and the and several applications such as Lazada, Shopee, and Shein. The uses of the internet. The internet can help to reduce production and distribution costs, thus making firms operate more efficiently. So, the gathered information from suppliers, distributors, and manufacturers form the basis for improving efficiency. Next is the internet can also help to reduce the cost of marketing and advertising using customer information effectively. So, the information on customer segments, the types of products they demanded, the trends and fashions form the basis for a more targeted marketing effort, thus reducing the cost of marketing and advertising. Next is the internet can help to achieve potential cost savings in the internal operations of firms. So this may include inventory management, and it also applies to the logistics of distribution, where electronic monitoring of all goods movements help ensure the delivery times are met. And information also on raw materials, supply of raw materials, the capacity of manufacturing, and orders from wholesalers, distributors, and retailers are all combined to enhance supply chain management. Last but not the least is the internet can help to improve the internal efficiency of companies by automating administrative tasks that are procedural and repetitive. So next, I will be discussing to you the disintermediation and reintermediation. But let us focus first on disintermediation. Disintermediation refers to the removal of an intermediary somewhere along the supply chain of products and services from seller to consumer. It is a method of reducing the cost of bringing products and services to customers. The internet causes a global effect on all types of organizations. Many organizations use intermediaries for syndication of their products. These intermediaries can be eliminated at any point because of the internet. This is because of the ability of offering the assistance on the internet right to consumers, which in exchange can save cost for many suppliers. This technique of elimination is known as disintermediation. So, travel firms, for example, are an intermediary in the travel distribution route, and it can be taken away by customers who are scheduling seat online and getting vacation information through the supplier on the internet rather than going through them. So this figure illustrates the difference between the typical and traditional supply chain and the disintermediation in the supply chain. So the thin arrow is the flow of physical goods, and the thicker arrow is the flow of information. Sa traditional supply chain, the flow of physical goods is from supplier, producer, wholesaler, retailer to consumer. While sa disintermediation, supplier, producer to diretso na sa consumer. No intermediaries needed. And the flow of information sa traditional supply chain, supplier, producer, wholesaler, retailer, consumer. So they give and receive feedbacks on each other. While sa disintermediation, producer diretso sa consumer and consumer to producer. For example, printing books or novels. So, the flow of these physical goods will from supplier to bookstore and to consumer or customer. However, because of the internet, there is electronic books available. So, from producer or from the supplier, diretso na sa consumer or customer. However, the role of intermediaries did not become obsolete. There are intermediary firms who reinvented themselves and re-entered the supply chain by providing specialist knowledge or services for the online market. New intermediaries may also be created into a supplier's distributional channel by the internet. This is because of the intermediary which is already out there forming a fresh intermediary which in turn gets the product or service to the finished user. This technique is referred to as re-intermediation. So, for example, travel businesses can add a new intermediaries such as a web-based method for the agency which provides the customer with offerings via the internet. So, both reintermediation and disintermediation are important things to consider as they can both change the nature of the exchange process. Disintermediation and reintermediation are important issues in resource chain management within the industry as they both have an impact on the intermediaries in the supply chain. This intermediation minimizes intermediaries of the supply string, and reintermediation provides new elements to the supply chain. Economics of information or if information economics is the study of how the information and information system affect the economy and economic decisions. So, information economics is different from the economics of physical products. Information is easily produced and can be distributed among a large number of recipients including suppliers, customers, and firms. It is also easily manipulated and altered to suit different needs of customers in different markets. Moreover, information that is in high demand constitutes high value assets such as financial data, prices of stocks and shares, and news items. The internet is also characterized by an abundance of information, which was mentioned earlier. And the internet has had a profound effect on the economics of selling information, especially in the form of media products such as music, film, and books. The online market for information-driven products and services is characterized by high reach and richness. Reach is the number of people and products that are accessible quickly and cheaply via online markets. Richness is the depth and detail of information that can be gathered, offered, and exchanged between parties in the market. So the lack of geographical boundaries in the internet environment greatly extends reach. The, en- the economic an example, please watch in e-business and e-commerce, connectivity exists between information systems and communication is real-time and is two-way. So these characteristics enable real-time pricing, low cost of distribution of information and digital products, and a high level of interactivity. The high growth rates in connectivity and interactivity have had a transforming effect on business. So this is the end of my report. Thank you and keep safe.